Hello and welcome to another edition of Resources for Life TV at resourcesforlife.com. My name's Greg Johnson. I'm the director of Resources for Life, and this is a short video asking the question, what about the redistribution of wealth as a way to bring equity and fairness and justice and liberty and freedom to people? Now, we heard a lot about the redistribution of wealth from the opponents of Barack Obama. People were saying, well, you know, he wants socialism, he wants the redistribution of wealth. When we think of the redistribution of wealth, we often imagine, I think, money or possessions, land, property, that kind of thing. But it's, I think, often been debated and discussed that this topic of, well, what if we did redistribute money and land and property, etc.? Would it end up just going back into the hands of the people who are powerful because of just the relationships that are there and the positions of power that people have? You know, just having money doesn't make somebody powerful and influential. Well, I'd like to throw an idea out there that I think has some merit and some promise, and that is that wealth, I think, really isn't found in money or possessions or property necessarily. That really true wealth is in knowledge and in education. So rather than thinking, because if somebody has money and they have property and they have possessions and they have, you know, land and all of these things, if you were just to give $1 million to somebody who's homeless, right? That person wouldn't necessarily have the experience and the training and the education to fully utilize that. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't do it for that reason. What I'm saying is that wealth by itself isn't wealth. You know, traditional wealth alone isn't enough. That what a person needs is education. So really, it's education that is the key to obtaining, maintaining, utilizing, and making the most of all these other things that we call wealth. And in the same way, even if you had what would appear to be an unfair distribution of wealth, let's say the property and the money went unfairly and let's say with excess to those who are now poor. Let's say you flipped the tables around and you took basically, you know, all the wealth and the money that the rich people have, you give it to the poor people, and you leave those rich people with barely anything. Well, you know, this story's familiar. You've heard it over and over with people like Donald Trump and anyone else who's, most of these other people who've made a lot of money have at one point in their lives, they've lost it all and they've made it back again. So, you know, wealth doesn't create wealth necessarily. What creates wealth is the education, the ingenuity, the courage. It's a lot of things about character and experience that allows somebody to amass wealth, material wealth. So really, I think the focus is in the wrong place when we talk about fairness in society and making equal access to material things. While that's important, it's not the answer. What really I think is the answer is to provide education, training, work opportunities, experience to people, and it's only in that and through that that people will truly become wealthy and independent. So that's kind of a long-winded introduction to something that I started doing a couple years ago, which was teaching classes here in Iowa City at the Iowa City Public Library, classes on computers, because that's my area of experience. And what I was thinking is that, you know, some people just do not have the funding to take a computer class at Kirkwood, let's say. So by offering these classes to the public for free, it creates an opportunity for people who might not otherwise get that education. And because knowledge is power, as I've been saying here, since knowledge is power and education is essentially the equivalent to money, and in fact in our economy education is a kind of currency in a way. So I thought, well, this is a way to redistribute wealth, or to at least not redistribute it, but distribute it, give people access to information that might otherwise be inaccessible to them. And certainly, if somebody has the training that they need and they can add that to their resume, it might make the difference between having a job and not having a job, So I really found a lot of satisfaction in teaching these classes at the Iowa City Public Library, and they were quite popular, I think. The people that took the classes really valued them. I was told that I shouldn't do it for free. I had many people saying, if you give somebody something for free, they won't value it. I don't know, that wasn't my experience. I found people really did value it, and I think there's a place and a time for everything, but I think that we really do need to offer more things for free in our society, because some people just can't afford it. And they're going to, what if somebody's starving and you give them food, right? Well, these people would argue, hey, you just gave them that food for free, so they're not going to appreciate it. I don't think so. I think people appreciate things when they really need them. So, but one thing I did find in this experience of teaching at the library was there's a limited capacity to the number of people you can help, through traditional classroom education. And the limitation is that, you can fit, let's say, 20, 30 people in a room, and at some point that, student-to-teacher ratio kind of limits the one-on-one experience. I also at the library held a conference in which there were probably a dozen people who attended, but subsequently the people who went online and attended virtually the conference, that number of people was in the tens of thousands who got online and wanted to view the videos, listen to the audio, watch the PowerPoint slides. There were tens of thousands of visits to that conference. Okay, so that experience gave me this revelation that really the most effective way to redistribute, or in this case I would say just distribute wealth and power, the most effective way to do that would be through video and technology on the internet, since that's available. So I'd like to get some feedback from others and find out, what do you think about the idea of information and education as wealth, and how do we distribute that? Because you don't, it's sort of like love doesn't get redistributed, it just gets put out there, right? So how do you distribute knowledge and education to as many people as possible to equal out the playing field? And curious to hear any ideas that people have on that. Thanks.